You're at Lake Rant, where I rant about whatever my $15 a month plus patrons want me to rant about. You can get one of these by being one of those. This one's for Andrew Soto, who says, rant about the change you undergo every 6 months. What typically prompts the change? Do you notice a trend among these changes so as to predict what new changes may come about? What aspects of yourself are subject to change, and which ones are immune? I think I think it's a little oversimplistic to say that I undergo a complete change every 6 months. I would say it's more like I just post updates on the way that things are evolving. Um, it's just like when your life circumstances change, you change the way you do things. Um, I don't know if I don't know if most people just grew up in much more consistent environments than I did, but like for me growing up, my family moved all the time and we were always changing environments, always having to shift the way that we lived our lives. And so I tend to not only be somebody who's moved a number of times because I want to live in like the best possible place for what I can afford. Um, and my metrics for what is the best possible place might be different from other people's, but like, you know, I I am going to continue moving and changing the way that I do things so that I can be in that situation, so that I can be in the best possible place for the, for what I want to do, and like also to be the happiest that I possibly can be with the job that I'm doing. To be like, yeah, I am proud of the content I'm making, and that content is profitable, and it's allowing me to live a lifestyle that I am satisfied with. So that's kind of the constant question that I'm asking myself. So, like, there was a time when I've always like made these kinds of major shifts. If you were a fan of my anime blog before, you would know that like I would change like the title, the whole layout. I was constantly updating the aesthetic of it, and it was just because I was constantly trying to experiment with what is the most interesting way that I can present myself as I currently am. Well, I'm very passionate. Like that's kind of the strength, the main core of my writing back in like 2008 was that I was very forward with myself, very aggressive, and very passionate. So I named my blog Fuzaken Na, which means like don't fuck with me in Japanese, and everything was red. And then I got really into Remelia Scarlet, so I just made it so like all the buttons on the website were Remelia Scarlet themed. So it's like very particular, very like this is one guy's taste. But it also was difficult to load the page, so it was like not the best layout for a website. But I did have my own hosting at the time, so I was really just going crazy with what I could do with the site design. And then like I thought that it might be too much for new readers if I was trying to get more readers. Like it seemed like people didn't really want to have to load this fucking site with all this like garish aesthetic. So I decided to make make the blog look more presentable. I went with a much more muted color scheme. I started writing in a way that was much more easy to read. Like I just basically was trying to be more approachable, less of a like intense personality, and more like somebody who is trying to start conversations. And that led to a huge spike in readership for my blog. Compared to what I get now, nothing. But like I was getting like one or two comments, maybe 10 to 15 comments on a post when I was like a part of the blogger community. But like then I suddenly was getting like 70 comments on a post because like people who just casually read anime blogs were coming across mine because I was posting about more general things in a less abrasive way. So like at some point I was really trying to like push my website to be something that could be profitable, but it was not. It just was not heading towards profitability. I'd had a couple ads on the site, one for JList, and I made like $9, but they never sent it to me. I think there's probably a dollar amount you had to reach before they would bother. But I only ever made that one sale, so it was like, having a couple of banner ads on my site was not helping me financially. So, because I wasn't getting paid per click. It was like paid for if somebody clicks through and buys something. So I just basically thought this website is not successful. It's not going to make me any money. So I changed it to My Sword is Unbelievably Dull. And I made everything gray. And I wanted to communicate the idea that like I was not as passionate at this time because I had kind of given up on the idea of this thing becoming successful, you know? It just wasn't growing fast enough or wasn't putting any money in my pockets, and it seemed like my writing style was too out there for any mainstream press. Like I couldn't get onto ANN because like I want to write about my perspective, you know? So that's why I decided to market myself as Gonzo. You know, it's like that's kind of the appeal. Is similar to a Gonzo journalist, except for one who's Gonzo about being an otaku and being like somebody who was a hikikomori kind of, you know, and has gender identity issues, like traditional weird otaku shit that you know, makes me appealing to a certain crowd. But like also sometimes I want to reach a bigger audience because it makes me more money, you know? And on the one hand, there's two benefits to making more niche content is that the people who watch it tend to care about it more. They are more likely to patron because it appeals to them more strongly. And, you know, they become longtime fans, so they are more likely to patron. You know, when they have that intense of a relationship with your content, it doesn't always last because they might only be really into your shit for like a couple of years, or you might start saying shit that pisses them off, or they just, you know, don't care anymore. There's any number of reasons that they don't, you know, stick around, but it's like you have this constant revolving door of people who are interested in the deeper side of what you do. Some of them stick around for years and years and years. You know, I have people come up to me at conventions who tell me they've been following me for 6 or 7 or 8 years. I've had people who have been following me who, you know, asked for pictures with me at cons back when I just had a written anime blog. So it's like, you know, there's always going to be that subset of people who are interested in my deeper content. And, like, they might even, like, not even like all of it, just, like, a select portion of it. But, like, there's so much that you can have. If you like it all, then there's an endless amount of it, you know? So that's, like, my core audience. But you can't, like, those people, they tend to be mostly into things that are a little bit weirder, and so they're probably not super popular Twitter accounts who are going to signal boost you to a bigger audience, you know? Like, they're not going to share your content on Twitter and that's going to lead to a whole bunch of new people watching you. It's kind of like you have the same audience, you know? And the only way that you're going to draw new people into this is you have to make them aware of the weird thing that's going on and, you know, get them potentially interested. But you have to reach out to them through the medium of talking about more popular stuff. So it's like, if I make a video about whatever's the most popular anime this season, let's say Dr. Stone, there's been a ton of new people in my comments since I started talking about this season's anime. And it's a rare opportunity for me because it's very rare that I really like a show that's super popular. And I've been waiting for that to happen for a long fucking time. You know, I should have been on the ball with One Punch Man because I did enjoy that while it was airing. But, like, I don't think One Punch Man appealed as much to me as it did to a lot of other people, whereas Dr. Stone is, like, right up my alley. It's, like, the show I've been waiting for to be something that I have, like, deeper feelings towards that is still, like, a very broadly appealing, mass-marketable shonen anime that will probably catch on in the West, you know? It's already the biggest show on Mal. So, like, every time I talk about it, there's new people in my comments who don't really know about me, but might get interested and might get deeper into anime and might become like that kind of deep lore fan. And also a lot of those people still like those shows. You know, like a lot of my fans who have similar taste to me also are going to enjoy Dr. Stone. So it's like not shitty for them that I'm talking about it because chances are they feel similarly to how I do, that they're excited that there's a show that they like that is popular, because it's a gratifying feeling because you just get way more material for it. You can get more discussion, you get more videos about it, you get more, you know, potential for there to be figures or something. Like, you want your shows to be at least popular enough that they make merchandise you can buy for it, you know? And a lot of my fans are into shit that is not at that level. You know, they're into shit that doesn't get any figures because it's too fucking obscure and they only get to hear about it at anime conventions and shit like that. So, like, that's a broad spectrum of different types of fans I'm trying to appeal to. Guy who the only show he's watching that I'm talking about is Dr. Stone, and guy who has seen more anime than I have, and I've completed over 2,000 shows, seen at least some of like close to 5,000. So like people who've seen a lot of fucking anime. And a lot of those people think I don't do enough research or think I haven't seen enough old stuff or think that, they want me to spend more time like going down that rabbit hole of like knowing more and making stuff that's more like Canapa effect where it's like deeply informative or pause and select where he does all this like academic research and a lot of people really respect that. But it's like I'm still trying to drag guy who only knows about Dr. Stone into liking more things, into expanding his palette of taste and, also getting into me so that I have them as a fan. So, like, there's definitely different strata of the fans who come up to me who, like, some of them will say, oh, I've been watching your anime analysis videos for years, and you helped to shape my taste in anime. You're the reason I know about good shows now, or you got me into the classics, you got me into the community, things like that. But then there's the other crowd that's like, yeah, I don't really watch that much anime, but I'm a huge fan of your videos. I watch everything you make. So it's like both of those are things I want to inspire, one for my benefit and one for sort of the community's benefit. So I try to make videos going in all of these directions at once. And like the stuff that's most profitable for me is really debatable because like the patrons give me the bulk of my profit. Like most of the money I make is because people are such hardcore fans. But at the same time, I want to keep growing that, so I want to keep making broader content that appeals to more fans. And if I make that content, it makes more ad revenue, it puts my channel more in the standing with YouTube, it gives me more clout so that I can go to conventions and things like that. So it has more benefits for me that aren't necessarily benefits to the fans, though a lot of them will enjoy those videos anyways, because I don't make them in like a hacky sellout kind of way. I talk about my real feelings about these popular shows, and it's rare that I even have one that I sincerely like that I can capitalize on in the way that I can Dr. Stone, or one that I hate that everyone else also hates, like Ari Ferreira. I don't usually get lucky like that. Usually the show that pisses me off is one that a lot of people like. So, like, my evolutions in content have really mostly to do with this setup of my career, where in order for me to expand, I have to make somewhat like relevant content, but in order to maintain my hardcore fan base, I have to make hardcore content. And so I can't necessarily do both at once. I mean, I can't do both to like the furthest degree at once. It's like I have to do one and then the other, Even if I'm working on two of them on the same day, it's not at the same time. There always has to be some sense of priority, some sense of balancing act, And like, it's easy for me to do the rants because people pay me to do them. So like, there's no question about it. It's important. It has to get done at this certain time, But like, if I'm thinking, oh, I have an idea for a video that would take a month of research to do and it would only appeal to the hardcore fans, do I have things that are going to keep me relevant in YouTube's algorithm while I work on that? Or, I'm going to make this big video about this popular show and then I'm going to follow it up with 3 podcasts that are just for patrons so that, they get the length of video that they want, and the depth of subject matter. So, like, making decisions like that is what leads to a lot of these changes, and if I think I can find a better delivery vehicle for managing that, balance, then I will change to that vehicle. So, like, for instance, the rants on the Patreon side were, like, the best idea of something that would be fun for me to do would be, it would be a lot of work, but it would be worth the money, because it's $15 a rant, and like when you have enough of those, that adds up to a lot of fucking patronage. It's a big part of why my Patreon is as high as it is because I offer this reward. So like, if I want to make money and this is a fun enough way for me to do that, it's a great evolution to make, And so, like, similarly with today's anime, it's a great way to stay relevant and talk about legitimately interesting new shows. I'm not forcing myself to talk about bullshit I don't want to, and I'm completely doing it in my own style, but, it keeps my channel relevant. It keeps content coming out that might be relevant to my audience, and I can work on bigger shit in the background because it doesn't take up that much of my time. So like that's the kind of balance I've been trying to achieve, and I feel like I've finally gotten there. But like every change I've made has been in service of trying to perfect this, you know, and and especially at times wanting to involve like much more extreme or esoteric stuff into my work. And like it's lucky that right now what I'm interested in doing is more mainstream, but eventually we're going to get to a point where I'm going to want to make a rap album and it's going to go on the main channel, and I, you know, it's just going to be there with everything else cuz the channel is, you've already got fucking Artso Fartso's podcast, which is pretty fucking abrasive, you know. So it's like this is the way things are going. This is what the content is like now. It's gonna be a smorgasbord of whatever I'm interested in, and you're just kind of gonna be along for the ride. And I'm gonna try to make sure there's enough stuff that appeals to every individual type of fan that all of them are satisfied forever.